Hi there, friends. Happy Friday. It is October 4th, and I am coming to you live on my Facebook page, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe, from my studio in Westerville, Ohio. And what a great week, great day it's been. It's been a little bit exhausting for me, and my back pain has picked up, but I am moving forward and doing what I need to do. I hope you have had a great week and that you are looking forward to the weekend as well. First off, I want to say to anybody in my Stampin' Peace community that has been affected by Hurricane Helene, please know I am keeping you in my thoughts and prayers. The devastation I see in the news each day is unbelievable. I mean, I think it's something we can't possibly imagine until we're experiencing it ourselves. And I was kind of moved today. I was watching the Today Show, and Al Roker was in Asheville, North Carolina, and several companies had donated supplies and food and water and such. But what really struck me was they had a large group of volunteers there, maybe 40, and these are all people who pretty much lost everything. And here they were coming together in a parking lot because the food bank has been destroyed. That has covered, I think they said eight counties. But here they were coming together to support one another and help anybody that came. And I was really moved by that and reminded that what really matters in life is the people and connections and relationships we have and nurturing those. And at the end of the day, that's what's most important, people. So I hope you will join me in praying and keeping good thoughts for all of those people affected by Hurricane Helene. All right, in the last Facebook Live, I demonstrated how you can make your own designer series paper with some stamps, some color, ink pads, and some cardstock, and then how to make 4 cards from one sheet of stamped 8.5 by 11 cardstock, which was lots of fun. If you've done that, I would love to see what you've created. I know a couple people have already shared with me, but go ahead and share your own designer series papers that you stamped. And also, I use the Autumn to Remember stamp set that you can find online. Now, today is my October 12 by 12 one sheet wonder demonstration. I think you're going to love it. So I'm going to get started right away. So I will flip my camera around now, and then I'll show you the paper that I'm using. And we're going to have lots of fun creating 10 cards from one sheet of designer series paper. Okay, there we go. Doris, thank you for sharing. And the others who are watching, if you would be so kind as to share this Facebook Live, I would appreciate it very much. It's always nice to share what we create with one another, and I appreciate you all helping me to do that. Okay, so I am using today the Sweet Days of Autumn designer series paper. And this is out recently and does coordinate with that Sweet Days of Autumn, I can't think what it's called, scrapbooking workshop kit, okay? And one thing that's different about this pack of designer series paper, because it is intended to coordinate with that scrapbooking kit, is that there are only 3 different sheets in here, but you get 4 of each of these. So it makes it a little bit nicer for people who want to scrapbook and who want to have some consistency of their paper throughout. However, I took a look at it and thought this would be wonderful for making fall cards. So today I am going to be using this pattern of the Sweet Days of Autumn Designer Series paper pack. And you know that the most important thing, yes, Holly, you can buy just the package of the Sweet Days of Autumn Designer Series paper. You do not have to buy the workshop kit or the scrapbooking kit to get this. Okay, good question. As I was saying, you know that the most important thing about One Sheet Wonders is how we cut our Designer Series paper and then use it to make our cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you exactly that, how to cut your Designer Series paper. Now, this one is directional. So to cut, I'm just going to say we're going to start with the top at the top and the bottom at the bottom of the paper trimmer. Now on the back side, you can see it's really not directional. So it wouldn't matter in that case. But for this particular One Sheet Wonder, if you have a directional paper, put it in your trimmer so that the top is truly at the top of your trimmer. Okay, the top of your paper at the top of your trimmer. And first I'm going to score or cut at 4.5 inches. And I'll set this aside, 4.5 by 12 inches. Then I'm going to slide this over and cut at 3/4 inch. I should say 3 1/4 of an inch. I think I said 3/4. It's 3 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So there I've got 3 1/4 by 12 inch. And then my last one ends up being 4 1/4 by 12 inches. And I'm going to cut each of these strips in the same order that I just cut them now. Hi there, Vicki from Arizona and Tanya from Illinois. Thanks for joining me today. So with that first strip, 4.5 by 12 inches, I want to cut at 3 inches and then 3 inches again. And I'll be using these with Card Sketch A. And then the rest of these I'm going to cut at 1 inch increments. And, well, phooey, I just cut that one at 3/4. So, not to worry. I will make it work. So cut at 1 inch increments. So ignore my mistake I just made. 1 inch increments. And once you finish cutting this, you'll have 6 strips, each measuring 4.5 inches by 1 inch. And you'll use these for Card Sketch B, and you do want to keep them in the same order that you cut them in. So in other words, when we put 3 strips on our card front, they will line up as if they were puzzle pieces going together. Get what I'm saying? Okay, so the images connect. Okay. Then I'm going to take the 3/4 inch by 12 inch strip, turn it to the horizontal position, cut at 4.5 inches once, and then again 4.5 inches. These will be for Card Sketch C. Trying to keep everything in order here. And then you've got this piece that's left. And I'm going to cut this at 1.5 inches. And 1 inch. And then the last piece is a 1/2 inch. And all of these 3 pieces will be used for card sketch D. And then the last strip is 4 1/4 by 12 inches. And I'm going to cut it 4 1/4 inches twice. So I'll have 2 squares that measure 4 1/4 inches all the way around for card sketch E. And then last, I have this piece that's left. And I want to turn this back to the original position, okay? And cut at 2 1/2 inches, or 2 1/8 inches, 2 1/8, okay? Cutting in half at 2 1/8. So each of these pieces measures 2 1/8 by 3 1/2 inches. And I'll be using these on card sketch F. So this One Sheet Wonder has 6 different card sketches that coordinate with it, and will make 10 cards for you. And of course, I'm using a fall theme paper. You can do this card sketch with any of your favorite designer series papers or pattern papers. Okay, so and just to let you know, I've pre-cut all of my layers that I'm going to use for the 10 cards. I've already cut, scored, and folded the card bases that I'll be using, and I went ahead and put the white cardstock on the inside. I also have all of the sentiments prepared, punched, ready to put on my cards. And this simply is because the most important part of any One Sheet Wonder is how to cut that DSP and then how to put the cards together using all of those pieces. So that's what I wanted to focus on, okay? So I've got my 2 card bases. Card sketch A will actually make 2 cards. Each of these pieces of DSP are 4 1/2 by 3 inches. I've got some Cajun Craze cardstock that I've cut to 2 inches by 5 1/2, and these are just going to go across the center, the middle of our card bases. And then I've got, and these will all be layered. My crushed curry measures 4 7/8 inches by 3 5/8. 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. And I'll put this right in the center of my card front. Like that. And then I have Early Espresso cardstock that measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4 inch. 4 3/4 by 3 1/4 inch. And these 2 will also be adhered to the center of each of card front. And then now it's time to add my cardstock. Even the back side, I might have to make some, what am I saying? Some another set of cards with this side because I think these are super cute. Great for kids, maybe kids' birthdays, could be that print with the animals could be great for new babies or baby showers. I can see doing lots of things with that. And then that is all for card sketch A. And what we're going to do, or I'm going to do, is go through making all 10 cards. And then at the very end, after you've seen the layouts and the cards are put together, at the very end, I'll add the sentiments and embellishments that I've prepared. Okay? Alrighty, let me just make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Okay, for the next set of cards, I'm using card sketch B, and again, we're making 2 cards. I've got my card bases of Early Espresso already prepared. I've got Cajun Craze that measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches for that bottom layer on the card front. And then I've got these 2 pieces of Early Espresso that measure 4 3/4 by 3 1/2 inches. And now is when we're going to be using those 1-inch strips. And remember, I talked about keeping them in the same order that they were cut in so that images match up, okay, like a puzzle. And for this, I'm going to suggest that you adhere these strips with some multi-purpose glue. And the reason for that is then that gives me a little extra time to maybe slide these strips into place so that we get even borders of that Early Espresso around and between each of the strips. Okay. And then I put that onto my card front. Now I'll do the same with the other pieces. Keep in mind that when I cut these other pieces, my first cut I accidentally did it 3/4 of an inch instead of 1. So that's why that looks like that. But then I have my other 2 1-inch pieces. So what I'm going to do is simply, and I don't even think it'll be that noticeable, I'm going to, oh, what am I doing wrong? Put it on the wrong piece. I'm going to add that first strip to my Early Espresso cardstock. I'm going to put the bottom strip in place. I like to, when I do 3, I like to do top and bottom, and then it's easy to center the middle piece. But before I center that middle piece, I need to add my, what do I call it? My oops piece. So putting those 2 strips together, 1 inch or 3 3/4 inch and 1/4 inch gives me that 1-inch strip. We just have a funky little line there, but it's not the worst thing that could happen, right? But do you see how I just made it work? And really, it's not even terribly noticeable. Okay. And then I will add this to my card front. Okay, I've got, there it goes. There's a piece of hair hanging from my hand or the adhesive runner or something. Okay, so that's card sketch B. All right, so 2 more cards. And moving on to card sketch C. This also makes 2 cards for us. I love that, Lori. Crafty girls never make mistakes. Isn't that the truth? Okay. We just make the mistakes work for us, right? So are they really mistakes? I don't know. Okay. Again, I have my 2 early espresso card bases, and I'm going to add a layer of crushed curry to the front. And these are vertical cards this time. So these measure 4 inches by 5 1/4. 4 inches by 5 1/4 for the crushed curry layer. And of course, I've already got my basic white layer on the inside. The basic white layer on the inside of all of these 10 cards, it measures the same, 4 by 5 1/4, okay? And then I'm going to add my 2 pieces of DSP that measure 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches that were cut from that One Sheet Wonder will get added to the early espresso layer. And the early espresso layer measures 3 1/2 inches by 4 3/4 inches. Okay, so the early espresso measures 3 1/2 inches by 4 3/4 inches. As I'm putting these last layers on these 2 cards for card sketch C, I do want to mention, if I know some of you that are watching already know about how my monthly 12 by 12 One Sheet Wonders work. I do a demonstration. Usually it's the first Thursday of each month, but I needed to change and switch yesterday's till today, which is Friday. But you get absolutely everything you need to cut the DSP and to make each of the 10 cards with all the measurements of all the layers, pieces, etc. All of that you get in this video. If you are like me and like to have a PDF or something printed to add to your resources so you can use it over and over and over again in the future easily, you can get the PDF tutorial in 2 ways. You can either purchase it from stampinpiece.com for $18, or you can get it free when you place a $50 Stampin' Up! Order with me. And that's before shipping and tax, of course. So you can get it totally free just by watching the video. And the video is nice. The replay is nice because you can stop and start, take notes, make your cards as we go along, that sort of thing. Or you can purchase it at stampinpiece.com for $18, or you can get it free with a $50 Stampin' Up! Order with me during the whole month of October 2024, okay? And I will tell you that the PDF tutorial includes the One Sheet Wonder templates, instructions on how to use that template and cut the DSP or the pattern paper, whatever you want to call it. You'll get templates of each of the card sketches, and then you'll get a full set of directions with supply list, color photos, cutting dimensions for the layer instructions with that PDF tutorial, okay? If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. The monthly One Sheet Wonder tutorials have been going over big, very big, exceeding my expectations, which is so thrilling to me. And for those of you who love these, please know that I will be planning at this point to carry them into the new year in one way or another. As some of you may know, October 1st started the new Stampin' Up! Year. I will be doing the 12 by 12 One Sheet Wonders through the end of 2024 and probably into 2025, maybe a few changes. I'm not sure, but you can count on these for many more months. Okay, so I took the 3 strips cut from my One Sheet Wonder for Card Sketch D. They were 3 1/4 by 1 1/2, 3 1/4 by 1, and 3 1/4 by 1/2 inch. And I mounted those onto early espresso cardstock that measures 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 inches. So that early espresso square is 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 inches. And Card Sketch D just makes 1 card, okay? Many of the card sketches were making 2, but on this particular one, it makes 1 card. And so that's 4 of the 6 sketches done. And now we're moving on to the 2 cards using Card Sketch E. And this is where I'm using those 2 4 1/4 inch squares that I've cut from my One Sheet Wonder. Each of these will be mounted on mossy metal cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, okay? Now you see that there's just a small bit of the mossy meadow that shows. If you're thinking, oh, wait a second, Mary, that's too much waste for me, no problem. I told, when I started doing these, I told everyone that these are meant to be easy One Sheet Wonders. Excuse me. These are meant to be easy One Sheet Wonders. And I keep the card sketches fairly easy as well, because I want you to be able to use these over and over and over again, all right? Now, if this bothers you that I use so much cardstock that's not showing, what you can do is cut 2 1/2 inch strips, okay? 4 1/4 by 1/2 inch strips, and just adhere the 1/2 inch strips to the top and bottom of the DSP, all right? It's totally up to you. There's not a right or wrong answer. I just felt like this was the easiest way to do it. And then I have strips of crushed curry, and these measure 2 1/2 inches by 5 1/2. I want to make sure my cards are going the right way. 2 1/2 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to put this right in, going right down the center of my card front. And then, whoops, the layers. Let me close that up and move that out of the way. Then these layers will be put right into or onto the center of my card front. Okay. Just like that. Now, I opened one of these just super briefly, so I don't know if you noticed, but did anybody notice I cut these card bases differently? Okay. I still got 2 card bases out of a single sheet of designer series or cardstock, early espresso cardstock. Oftentimes, most often, I score at 4 1/4 and then I turn and cut. And that's how I get, if I can open it, that's how I get a card base like this. But sometimes I go a little rogue, want to do something a little bit differently. And I intentionally changed the direction to score and cut this sheet of cardstock because I intentionally wanted the card base like this because it's easier to match up my sides of those layers going all the way across 4 1/4. Okay. So that's why it may look different to you. Alrighty, and moving on to card sketch. Got a lot going on over here. It's all organized, but it's a little overwhelming at times. Moving on to card sketch F. So card sketch F, okay, same card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4 down the middle, white inside. You know, I was working late the other night and I was cutting pieces and sticking them in envelopes, and this one, I just went ahead and stuck to the card base. So I left it. So the mossy meadow here measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Okay. The mossy meadow layer is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I have 2 pieces of early espresso. These each measure 2 3/8 inches by 3 3/4. 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And this is where I'm going to use those last 2 pieces that we cut from the one sheet of designer series paper. Each of these measures 2 1/8 inch by 3 1/2 inches. And I'm going to add them like that. And by the way, when I do these monthly 12 by 12 demonstrations, they are different each time. Okay, they are different each time. And then I'm going to put these on my card front. For putting these on, I am going to use my liquid glue. Just to make it easier to move them, straighten them, get the borders around and between the way I want them. And I would say that looks pretty good to me. So then I'll just press them down. Okay, I think that looks good. And that's card sketch F. So now we have all 10 of these. What's missing is the sentiments and the embellishments. So that's what I'll show you now. At first, I was going to use the Bountiful Blessings stamp from the Autumn to Remember stamp set on all of these. But as I started thinking about it, not a lot of people send Thanksgiving cards. So I thought these cards can be anything sent in the fall. Could be sympathy, could be birthday, thinking of you, I miss you, you're in my thoughts, absolutely anything. So I decided to use the Layering Leaves stamp set because I think it has a nice assortment of sentiments. It doesn't have a happy birthday, but it does say, so happy to celebrate you. It doesn't have sympathy, but it does have thinking of you and sending hugs. So I think, you know, best wishes could be for a wedding, an anniversary, a new job, a transfer, all kinds of things. So I think it's a nice assortment of sentiments to use with this, excuse me, One Sheet Wonder and the Sweet Days of Autumn Designer Series paper. Okay. And like I said, I've already stamped the sentiments and prepared with embellishments. So here I've stamped Sending Hugs in Early Espresso ink on Cajun Craze cardstock, and I punched with the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. Okay, Heartfelt Hexagon punch. And then I just added a bow at the top made from linen thread. And to adhere that bow, I just put a dot of the liquid glue where I wanted to stick down the knot of that bow, okay? And you can see the only thing that's adhered down is that knot. Holly says layering leaves is one of her favorite sets. I totally agree. I totally agree. And there's something about the script, the font, that I thought looked really kind of neat with the DSP. Like these images are kind of soft, no rough edges, anything like that. And that's how I feel about this script, the font. I totally agree. One of my favorites. And the next card, I used Best Wishes. Again, I stamped with Early Espresso ink onto Cajun Craze cardstock and punched with the Heartfelt Hexagon punch. This time, though, I have the bow off to that top right instead of at the middle. I think down here at the bottom would have been very nice, too. Think about that when you're making cards. Doing something just a little bit different than you normally do. Like instead of putting the bow at the very top, put it in a different spot, maybe off to the side or at the bottom. Kind of explore and try different ways. And doing that makes each of us even more creative than we already are. Okay, keep that in mind. More creative than we already are. All right. These were made with Card Sketch C. And I stamped So Happy to Celebrate You. Now notice this sentiment is more of an up and down, top to bottom, okay? Whereas the others are more horizontal. So I use the same punch, but I use that punch in a different direction. So Happy to Celebrate You. This could be used for birthdays, graduations, job promotion. What else? I can't think. Excuse me. Riley and I have been hanging on to this dry cough. And it gets kind of irritating. Like some days it's not at all, and other days it is what it is. I don't know if it's something from outside, blah, blah, blah. But life goes on, right? Don't feel sick in any other way. And then I just used one of the Earth Tones Shimmer Gems at the bottom right of the sentiment. Oh, retirement. That's a great idea, Doris. So happy to celebrate you. Great for retirement. I totally agree. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. For Card Sketch D, I stamped Thank You So Much in Early Espresso on a piece of Old Olive. Okay, Old Olive cardstock, and it measures 1 inch. Let me double check. 1 inch by 2 3/4. Yes, 1 inch by 2 3/4. And I want to put that right here. And then I'm going to add a few of the small earth tone gems right here underneath that sentiment. A lot of times we scatter our embellishments. This time I'm just putting them in a neat little row under that sentiment. Trying to get those all straight. Okay. Alrighty. It's pretty, isn't it? And you think about it, all the different designer series papers and pattern papers we have, all of these layouts are great to use with those. And for these two cards, I've stamped Thinking of You. Now I want to show you what I did here. I stamped Thinking of You on the crushed curry cardstock, and I punched it out with the labeled with love. Is that what I think that's what it's called? Labeled with love punch. Looks like that. It's fairly new. It's in our annual catalog, most recent annual catalog. So a few months we've had it. And then I used the modern oval to punch a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock. And I actually adhered these with dimensionals in the middle. Okay, dimensionals between those two layers. Can you see that? Oftentimes we stick the first one down, first piece down onto the second piece and put dimensionals on behind. So this is just a little bit of a variation by putting the dimensionals between those two layers. Stick that right in the middle. Just adds an extra little something, I'll say, doing that. Okay, and again, I finished off with a bow made from linen thread just in that lower right corner. And then for the last card, I've stamped hello. So this could be used for anything at all, right? Did the same thing. Stamped on crushed curry, punched with the labeled with love punch, and then adhered it with dimensionals to an oval, Cajun Craze oval, punched from the with the modern oval. Is that right? Modern oval label. Modern oval punch. Remembering all these names. Modern oval punch. I'm just going to put it right in the center, and then just scatter some of these shimmer. Does anybody have these? These are so pretty. So pretty. I'm going to put one large one there, and then two small ones near the upper right corner, just like that. Okay. Does anybody have the shimmer gems? These are so pretty. Okay. Can you see how they shimmer? They're also very, very flat. Very, very flat. So if you get concerned about putting embellishments on cards, I'm trying to get that so you can see how flat they are. Does that help? Not sure. But very, very flat. If you are concerned about mailing cards with embellishments, you will love these. Okay. I typically don't have a problem when I'm mailing my cards. If there is an embellishment that's raised what I think a little high, or maybe a bow where the knot is a little high, what I do is just slip a piece of like scrap cardstock, say something like this. I would just put it over that part of the card that has something, and that makes it go through their machines really easily. I've never had a problem. All right, but these are just so pretty, and I especially love these neutrals. One is kind of creamy and one is sort of tan, crumb cake-like. But just, I love these. All right, so let's bring back in our 10 cards. So I had one sheet of Sweet Days of Autumn Designer Series paper. I cut using the 12-inch by 12-inch one-sheet wonder I designed, and had designed 6 coordinating card sketches. And with all of that, I made 10 cards. And they're really quite simple layouts. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, with one-sheet wonders and getting the card sketches, first of all, you can use the one-sheet wonders with any DSP, right? Any of your favorite papers. You can also use the card sketches individually. You don't have to use just the card sketches just with the one-sheet wonder they were designed for. If you love this, say this card sketch, use it over and over and over as much as you want, okay? But I'm very pleased with the way these turned out. I hope you are too. Let's see, I've been doing these. Is this the 6th one? March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's the 8th 12 by 12 one-sheet wonder demonstration I've shared. So I love them. I love doing them. I love creating them. It's always kind of, I don't know, it's like a design challenge for me. And I always do it so that there is not any of my DSP left over. Okay, that is my biggest thing. I want you to know that when you are doing a one-sheet wonder with me, it has been designed to have 0 waste. Why? Just because I love DSP that much, I want to make sure I use it all. All right, everybody, I'm going to give away a couple of these cards. So if you are interested in having your name put into the drawing to receive one of these cards, please type in the comments now, Sweet Days of Autumn. Sweet Days of Autumn. That is the name of the designer series paper I used. Let me pull this off and you can see it better. Sweet Days of Autumn. The name of the designer series paper I used today for the October one-sheet wonder. And a final reminder, everything you need to create cards with this one-sheet wonder is included in this video. Every bit of information, all of the dimensions for all of the layers and all of the cards. If you would like to have a PDF version of the tutorial, you'll get the 12 by 12 one-sheet wonder template, you'll get the 6 card sketch templates, and you'll get color photos, supply list, full instructions, layering dimensions, everything with that one-sheet wonder. You can get it for $18 at stampinpiece.com, or if you place an order with me, $50 or more, Stampin' Up! Order, in the month of October, I will send you that PDF tutorial free. Okay? I think that's it. I think I've shared everything I need to share with you. And gosh, I know what I was going to say. If somebody has already placed an order with me, a $50 order with me, August 1st or after, until now, through the end of the month, they too will get the PDF tutorial. So it's for a whole month, from the first day of the month to the last day of the month. Alrighty? And the PDF tutorials, excuse me, the PDF tutorials stay in my PDF store indefinitely. So you can always go to stampinpiece.com, click shop, and then at the bottom of the drop-down menu, click PDF tutorials, and you can see everything that's in there. Alrighty? I look forward to sharing another creative demonstration and project with you next week on Tuesday. And I don't even know what day that'll be. Let's see, 8th? Yes, October 8th. Tuesday, October 8th, right here on Facebook, Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great weekend, and thank you for being a part of my Stampin' Piece community.